Hello and welcome! We have a lot of Cinderella to discuss. Walt Disney made a lot of Cinderella films. Well, he only made two, but there's a lot of remakes. Today we're going to be talking about Cinderella from 1950, the original animated version by Walt Disney himself. The one that started it all, with the glass slipper. I wanted to make sure that I included a couple of versions of Cinderella to compare how it first started, how it changed, and how it evolved, basically. Cinderella was released in 1950, and this was one of Walt's dream projects that he wanted to accomplish, and he did. A lot of the money that they made with the World War II propaganda films was put towards creating this masterpiece. Just like in Snow White, we open up on Cinderella's book, and the story begins.
Once upon a time, in a faraway land.
The film, we're introduced to the evil stepsisters, the evil stepmother, and the most evil cat ever. I really hate Lucifer. I don't know why they also sell Disney merchandise with Lucifer, because I cannot stand this character. I hate this cat so much. I want him to die. And I know that's how you're supposed to feel about villains, but oh, this cat is such a jerk. I hate it. I hate him. I feel bad for the other animals. But as I was going through watching this film, I also felt like a lot of the animal characters were very annoying. And a lot of this film's plot could have been stopped if the characters weren't so annoying themselves. When Gus is introduced to the rest of the mice, I hate him. I really do. I don't think he's cute, I don't think he's charming, he's very annoying. And he's a very greedy mice, and he thinks that he can get away with whatever he wants and eat the cheese and pick up all the cheese he wants, and there's not going to be any consequences, and he almost kills them all. That's not a good friend. Gus, you're not a good friend, Gus. No. I don't like him, and the rest of the mice are okay. They're fine, but as I'm watching this whole film, I am questioning what's happening, because if the mice weren't there, Cinderella would have never gotten anywhere in life. And she doesn't really do much. She's just very submissive. She just follows orders and doesn't want to fight over anything. And it's not until she just cries about missing the ball that this fairy godmother appears and is like, you can go. And the prince and her do end up having a moment, and they talk to each other and fall in love, but she has to run back and doesn't seem to care any bit for one another. She doesn't explain anything. It's just, oh, I have to go, and is embarrassed and runs away and loses her glass slipper. I do appreciate that they didn't have the prince go looking for the girl with the glass slipper, because they were able to play it up more with the butler, and he doesn't know what these girls look like, so it's a little bit easier for him to actually go through and put it on every girl and not know what's gonna happen. However, again, if the animals weren't there to help Cinderella, she would have been locked up and she wouldn't have been able to get out. And the chances are high, but realistically you're like, this could not happen. And I know I am questioning a film that has a fairy godmother and turned a pumpkin into a carriage and turned mice into horses, and this is my thinking. Don't question my thinking. He breaks the glass slipper and she instead is, here's the other one. This is me. I don't have to try on the shoe because I have the shoe. How did the glass slipper stay when everything else disintegrated? That's my other question that I have. I also think that this was the first, well, no, Snow White did have lime green. So from the beginning, lime green was related to evil. Lime green, be aware. Because even when the stepmother realizes that Cinderella went to the ball, her eyes turn green, lime green, of jealousy. That must have been just the way it probably is related to jealousy overall. that makes sense. All of the villains, their motivation is jealousy. They are jealous of these princesses, even though they are torturing these princesses. They are still jealous of them, and it just makes them more envious, and envy green with envy. At least we solved that. Cinderella is a visual masterpiece. The story is solid. She just isn't a very strong archetype character. And there's no harm in that because of the fact that she was raised to be very submissive. In the 50s, you have to look back and remember that these girls followed the husbands and the fathers, and they were still in that early century era where the Victorian era was the same way. If you didn't find a man, you were an old maid and you weren't able to advance in your life, and they weren't working at NASA yet. The science and math wasn't a big thing. Women's rights just got started, so that's something you have to take into consideration. Cinderella, though, is really not the best princess because she really doesn't do anything. She just follows the orders and everything ends up in her lap, and it just works out in the nick of time. And yes, she is kind, she is very sweet, and she takes care of animals, which is very important. But besides that, she doesn't have any personality, and she just cleans. And I know it's because of the fact that she was locked up in the house and she wasn't taught, so I understand that. But at the same time, I feel like Snow White had more character than Cinderella does. Tomorrow we're going to take a look at the 1997 version of Cinderella, which is Rodgers and Hammerstein's, my personal favorite. So I will have a lot more praise for that one. And as always, I hope you have a magical day, and I will see you real soon.